The title of my paper is there, Catholic Educational Challenges in Chicago's Little Italy. I'm going to add in the heart of Chicago's Little Italy. The subject of this panel is Italian-American writers. He is Irish, Edmund Dunne, obviously the second bishop of Peoria. But he took the name Prete, or Pre actually, because his parishioners called him that. He served, before the Scalabrinis came in, the history that Dominic Condoloro, and actually I have to thank Dominic for suggesting this topic and this very interesting source book. Here, it is online. The Memoirs of Prete is online. It is in the New York Public Library. It's a perfect copy of the edition, and this one is easier to download and work with in Word, but it's a corrupted copy of it. There's a perfect, so you can access this book and use it for this re-avocation of life in Little Italy, just before the Scalabrini brothers moved in 1903. He left in 1903 to become chancellor for the new Archbishop Quigley in 1903, and then the Scalabrini started their operation that Dominic referred to this morning, building the 12 churches for the Italians. He was the pastor of the Guardian Angel Church right when it was built. That's what I'll be talking about here. Okay, so I had fun. So this is mostly a brief introduction to the work and then some key quotations that bring to life some of the things we've been talking about for the last couple of days, especially the conflict between, there's a conflict between the Catholics and the Garibaldi anti-clericals, but also the book is mostly, as I'll explain, about the war against some of the proselytizers, some of the Italians who had become Protestants and were proselytizing the Catholics. Okay. Again, when I save time for sins, I will be very, make sure that I'm out by 12:15. Okay. Before he was consecrated as the second bishop of Peoria in 1909, Edmund Dunne of the Society of Jesus had served the Italian immigrants as pastor of the Church of the Holy Guardian Angel in the heart of historic Chicago, Taylor Street, Little Italy. The Chiesa here's his bio, I won't read that to you. This Chiesa dell'Angelo Custode was the mother church of all the parishes assigned to the Scalabrini fathers, or it became that. The parish grew so big that it split into the Madonna Pompeii Church is also in this parish, and it was the one that was open afterwards. Around 1890, Father Ponciglione, a Jesuit, established a space on what was then known as 4 Quare Street, which later became Arlington Street, as the site of a catechism school that he called the Holy Guardian Angel School for an already numerous group of Italian children. In the mid-1890s, when he was in his early 30s and fresh from Doctor of Divinity Studies at the Gregoriana in Rome, Edmund Dunne became the principal active educator in the Italian community, and in 1898, with the encouragement of turn of the century Archbishop Feehan, he converted a chapel used by the Jesuits into a parish church for Italians. And a year later, in 1899, Dunne purchased the land next to Guardian Angel School and had the Chiesa dell'Angelo Custode built. I couldn't find any picture of it, so there's the location. That was a picture that Dominic sent me of, I think, in front of the school, and that's the style. The other church is just an example of the style that he refers to, that I'll be talking about in the quotes later. It was consecrated that very year, 1899, and in a period of great influx of Italian immigrants, the church grew very rapidly. Dunne served as pastor of the church from 1899 until 1903, when he was appointed chancellor of the Archdiocese of Chicago. At the point when Archbishop Quigley replaced Archbishop Patrick Feehan, Scalabrini Reverend Pacifico Cenui succeeded Dunne as pastor, and then the Scalabrinians and all the idea of the ethnic Italian churches. He was a placeholder. He said because as we've heard before, that the priest did not come over with the immigrants for the Italians, unlike for the Irish and the Germans. As Edmund Dunne tells us that, and as we've heard, he opened a dozen more churches for the Italians. The book we are taking a brief look at today, the Memoirs of Prete, the title is The Memoirs of Prete, with the title referring to Dunne himself, Zio Prete, or Zio Prete, Uncle Priest, this term of affection and respect used in southern Italy, and Dunne, who had great affection and appreciation for the Italian parishioners he served, And he even argues in the early chapters against the negative stereotypes in circulation are false. So it seems that this is a never-ending battle arguing against stereotypes. He's already right there and saying that Italians are not like what is reported about them. The Memoirs of Zipre was published in 1914 when Dunne was bishop of Peoria already, and its primary purpose was to set forth in a pleasing and entertaining manner some central tenets of Catholicism. So the polemic isn't really that important, or some of the features, but the book centers on the debate between an Italian proselytizer who has left Catholicism for Protestantism and a young student named Pasqualino, who is a prodigy both in the extent of his knowledge at a very young age and at the extent of his debating skills. Here's how Dunne introduces Pasqualino Amadeo. The Amadeo means lover of God, Amadeo. In the foreword, suggesting that his portrayal of a brilliant young Italian student might seem unrealistic. Some may deem Pasqualino too clever for his tender age. Please consider, friendly or hostile reader, as the case may be, that our youthful polemicist has completed 3 years of classics with unusual success before encountering his adversary. The children of sunny Italy developed much earlier than those of northern climes. Okay, in its structure, the Memoirs of Zipre can be divided into 4 parts. Part 1, the 2 introductory chapters that are of special interest to Italian American studies. The chapters are entitled Italian Quarter and Italian Customs, and they constitute a memorable description of Chicago's Little Italy and its inhabitants, precisely, I think, at the turn of the century, of the 20th century, when Dunne was serving the parishioners. Part 2 is chapters 3 through 8, setting the stage for the debate, introducing the proselytizers who were questioning Catholicism, and Pasqualino as he's being educated in the church school and also in his family life. Dunne adds also a very lively account of how he and the church were being regularly attacked by certain Italian anti-clericals in an Italian language newspaper called Tribuna Transatlantica, and how he would write letters in Italian in the Tribuna. He also responded in English publications to counteract their attacks and slanders. From his point of view, I'd say in the polemics, he's very confident. He's with the arts classes, he's a very confident Catholic. So the polemic isn't really a life and death thing. It's just because the book he wrote later on when he was already bishop is a very confident and exposition of Catholicism. So he doesn't feel that he's in any weak position when he's engaging in these polemics. So this book just provides some important documentation to the way that the immigrant community anti-clericism was expressed and responded to by the Catholic Church. And he's very good at responding. Part 3 is the main part of the book, chapter 9 to chapter 25. The main portion of the book are the debate chapters, starting with chapter 9 at the zoo, Lincoln Park Zoo. It happens when Pasqualino goes to his uncle's ice cream shop on Clark Street near the Lincoln Park Zoo, and then visits the zoo where he happens to run into his antagonist, the Proselytizer, who has seen him before, who's not really named until the end of the book. He's just called the Proselytizer or the Evangelist, are the 2 terms used to refer to him, who has seen him before at the Guardian Angel Mission School. It was a mission school. I don't think the Guardian Angel School became a real parochial school until 1920, after Mother Greeney's school, which was the first one opened. But there was a lot of teaching going on of the children, and also their parents would come to night school, and that was a major force of Catholic education. There are a couple of schools right around the Guardian Angel Church. Okay, and so then you have the main part of the Pasqualino first taking on the proselytizer in a number of chapters. Then he brings the proselytizer back to the Guardian Angel Church, and then Zi Prete or Zio Prete title reappears, and they sort of handle the later conversations together. Chapters 26 through 28 is the end, and 26 and 27 are the proselytizer's despair, and then his nightmare that leads to his conversion. When he asks pardon from Zio Prete, when he begins his admission of guilt thusly: Padre, io sono un porco, un ingrato, un animale, in Italian in the text. Father, I am a pig and an ingrate and an animal. So it's it's a very kind of happy ending, but the book is written with great relish. It's a very entertaining book, and as I said, very confident. So now I'm just going to, until it's time for, so I've got about 5 minutes to do some quotes from the text. I'll go through the different sections. So I'll show you some of the pictures. So here's a beautiful description of the church that was destroyed by coming up the Dan Ryan Expressway first. And they wanted to rebuild it, but then it ended up when the university came, they couldn't rebuild it. So here's this beautiful description. The mellow tints of sea and sky and the decoration of the interior from vestibule to the sanctuary are unmistakably Italian. The stained glass windows of St. Michael, St. Raphael, and the guardian angel carry the thoughts of the onlooker back to the basilicas of Rome and cause them to murmur the names of Italian masters. The statues of San Vito, Rocco, Lucia, and Sebastiano recall vividly to mind those Christian martyrs especially dear to the Italian heart, or Raphael's Madonna della Sedia tenderly clasped her divine bambino, seeming to look down with maternal solicitude upon the congregation gathered in reverential attitude and to assist at Holy Mass in their native tongue. So it's a very, okay, this one I'll skip. This is sort of an interesting name book. I think he chooses the names based on his Catholic education idea, because he wanted to give when he says that all the names come from, let's see. When he says that all the names come from feast days, Natale, Pasquale, Annunziata, Assunta, Concetta. And there's a little thing about Pasqualino's father, and who's a negative character in the book. Okay. There's a very interesting exchange here. I'll read this here. A lamentable feature of the society is that most of them hold their meetings. These are the different societies organized for charitable purposes or to venerate different saints among the parishioners at Holy Guardian Angel Church. A lamentable feature of the society is that most of them hold their meetings Sunday morning. Every society celebrates annually the feast day of its patron with a solemn high mass and a panegyric. The latter seem to be effective most invariably. The latter, to be effective, must invariably conclude with a fervent prayer invoking the protection of the heavenly patron upon all the members of society from every imaginable evil, temporal as well as spiritual. That's part of the local peasant culture brought over. Zipre fancied that upon one occasion he had delivered a very masterful discourse on the Blessed Virgin. To be precise, it was the feast of the Madonna di Montevigiano. He was, however, speedily disillusioned by the caustic criticism made by a poor woman upon leaving the church at the end of Mass. The priest says, cosa viene pare? She was asked in regard to the sermon. Neanche una preghiera, she replied. Not even a prayer. Again, so the Irish Catholic and the Italian Catholic conflict is moved over there. Okay, now I just want to show you briefly the. Okay, there's a lot. So this is the exchanges going on in the newspaper that he brings to life, and this is recurrent. So he calls Garibaldi an ignorant bushwhacker, notorious for demoniac hatred of the Pope. That's what Bishop Dunne calls him. But he was being attacked here. So maybe if you're interested in this, or you can find it online. But I think bushwhacker is the early 20th century term for a terrorist. I think. I think it corresponds in force to calling them. So just a little here. Okay, actually the school in the I put up Dante because the school diagonally across from the Guardian, it was called Dante School, and I think Father Dunne had helped that happen. And so they wanted to name the school. A new school is being built on Polk Street, Garibaldi, and he was fighting their efforts. I don't know how it turned out. So they thought that they got to name the school after Garibaldi, but the whole thing is every Catholic knows that a priest would just as soon have the school named after Beelzebub, Bob Ingersoll, or Judas Iscariot. Bob Ingersoll you'd expect as a leading atheist or agnostic at the time. So then he goes, then he calls him the ignorant bushwash. Okay. The poor man has an acute case of Irish, Jesuit, and Pope phobia. So they're kind of interesting in colorful polemics, and also the ones who write against him Okay, it's 12:15. I just, oh yeah, I thought he has a great description of Pasqualino, who's kind of the hero. Made me think of Salvatore Locascio, especially he was beautiful as a picture and lively as a cricket. That made me think of the old Cinema Paradiso representation of the Southern Italian. So then, yeah, then it all started at the zoo, actually. Where there's this kind of nice image to be sober and wise because your adversary, the devil, is a roaring lion goeth forth, seeking whom he may devour. So that's what Pasqualino says to one of the first things he says when the debate starts, and it's taking place right at the zoo. That's another picture of the lion is from today, but that is a 1900 picture that you can find. Here, yeah, so the book is very pro-Pope, and there's a lot of confidence in the community about popes. And a couple that refer to, he specifically refers to an encyclical Pasqualino of Leo XIII, who's also the Pope associated with what we've been talking about a little this year, the preferential option for the poor from the rerum novarum. So the popes are interested in that era. And then, okay, so the despair is kind of great. He has this dream. First he tries to commit suicide, the proselytizer. Then he has this terrible dream in which he dreams that the devil is going to take his soul away. Okay, right. Thank you.